new archaeological, theological, and astronomical discovery data of LaURELD Smith of Chicago, Illinois, actually uncovers the ancient African continent civilization of Ham, dual stone X's upon the front wall of Jerusalem, holy building in the Kingsjames Bible called the Dome of the Rock. These dual stone X's appear as one white X above the other, and only when we draw a straight line down from the upper corners of the white X to the lower corner of the white X, we see an Ethiopian stone cross-shaped building structure that's currently located in modern Alibaba. This changes the historical data associated with African King David and Solomon. After all, the African Ethiopian stone cross-shaped building structure in Alibaba is featured on the front wall entrance of the Dome of the Rock building in Jerusalem. As we go forward to connecting the Giza Sphinx in front of the Egyptian pyramids, we see the scriptural reference of Isaiah 19:19. In that day, there should be a pillar at the border of Egypt and for a sign and witness. So we're looking at the pyramids of the Giza Sphinx in Egypt of ancient Judaism being portrayed upon the outer octagonal wall of Jerusalem Dome of the Rock structure in the form of dual stone white X's. So this video, I try to depict the dual stone white X's as they appear on the outer wall, octagonal wall in Jerusalem, the holy octagonal building structure with the golden dome of King David and Solomon. So as we move forward, we see that drawing lines of the Giza pyramid base until these lines connect to the second pyramid base and to the third pyramid base. The resulting image generates an aerial, when you aerial view these connected lines to the three Giza pyramid bases from a helicopter, the image that appears is an Ethiopian cross. So who would have guessed that the North African Egyptian pyramid is actually generating from the extended baselines to one another an Ethiopian cross? So as we go to the Dome of the Rock building in Jerusalem, we see the same thing. We see that the Egyptian pyramids generated cross geometrically is appearing on the outer octagonal walls of the holiest building in the Kingsjames Bible. And it appears as, well, we got the entrance wall. Out of all of the visitors that visit Jerusalem, they have to go up these huge steps, all right? And at the end of the steps is some gates. And each gate is shaped like a U. So the only image that is visible before entering the gates is these white stone X's on the entrance wall of the holiest building in the Kingsjames Bible. Dual stone white X's. And remember, these dual stone white X's, one below the other, is generating an African continent children of Ham, Ethiopian cross-shaped building structure that currently exists in modern Alibaba, which snatches the historical data away from the false European face state of Israel and gives the architectural origin of the Dome of the Rock back to the African continent children of Ham in the first book of the King James Bible called Genesis. African continent children of Ham, Nimrod, mighty hunter before the Lord. First city was Babylon, where Iraq is currently located. So as we look at the Babylonian architectural emblem on the outer wall of Jerusalem Dome of the Rock in the form of dual stone X's and the step pyramid E images. Now the step pyramid E images connects not only Babylon but ancient Egypt. Okay, there. When you think about the images within the Dome of the Rock octagonal building structure, we talk about the outer wall dual stone X's of King David and Solomon, generating the Ethiopian cross. But then we move forward to the wall that supports the Golden Dome on top of the octagonal building structure in Jerusalem rough. You say, well, now what's so special about that wall? Is that when you get up close to the holy building in the King James Bible of King David and Solomon, called Jerusalem Dome of the Rock, you look at the wall supporting the Golden Dome on top of the roof of the octagonal building structure. Then you will see what I call step pyramid E images in the stone windows. Just like if you stack 5 blocks on top of one another on the left and right side, that they form a step that you walk upon. That seems to be the African Babylonian kingdom step pyramid data that is surrounding the entire wall that supports the Golden Dome. Now, if we say black people connected to Jerusalem has been supported by the step pyramid images of Babylon, okay, and if we go back to ancient Babylon, we'll see a king, Giza. You say, what's the name of the ancient king in Babylon? You go to Babylon today, they call it Iraq. Well, in Babylon, the ancient king Giza is, now in the Bible, it's the Alliance thinks of Judea. But in Babylon, it's the king Giza, the Babylonian kingdoms of Judah. English language is that their historical data about Africa is all wrong in the history books. And even in the King James Bible that was created 400 years ago in the 16th century. So we see like the 1609, the 1611 King James of England, a European king of the European Gentile nations, attempted to write the story of Adam and Eve and the Garden of Eden and the creation of the earth. This is what the Bible was all about. Okay, the English King James Bible that's read in Afro-American churches. So as we go back in time and look at what the book of Genesis called the African continent, step pyramid E civilization of Ham. In other words, the entire African continent civilization is referred to in the mistranslated European King James Bible as Ham, or H-A-M. Now that word Ham denotes all of the people on the African continent, include Cush, Ethiopians, and it goes further to say that the ancient kingdoms of the African continent step pyramid E civilization of Ham. Now they don't say step pyramid E. They don't want you to go that far. The Bible just refers to the African continent civilizations as Ham, or H-A-M. Now that word Ham denotes all of the people on the African continent, include Cush, Ethiopians, and it goes further to say that the ancient kingdoms of the African continent step pyramid E civilization of Ham. Now they don't say step pyramid E. They don't want you to go that far. The Bible just refers to the African continent civilizations as Ham, H-A-M. However, it goes on to state that the ancient kingdoms of Ham is Egypt, Babylon, and the entire African continent, all the kingdoms on the African continent. But this is where the misread in history developed. When Afro-Americans opened up the King James Bible and go back to the Garden of Eden story, they have billions of years of the earth history that was not placed in the English King James Bible. For instance, if we look at what the African continent step pyramid E civilization of Ham in Babylon, one of the ancient cities on earth. Well, we have all the stone step pyramids, 5 blocks that you stack on top of one another on the left and right side that they form a step that you walk upon. Okay, so this is the stone step pyramids we see in Babylon, in ancient Egypt, step pyramid of Doja, step pyramid of Saqqara, and even if you go to South America, you'll see these stone step pyramids of Pumapunku and Tiwanaku. The mystery in the King James Bible is that the entire African continent before the flood of Noah Keep this in mind. So picture the African continent in your mind. You know how it's shaped. Now to the right of it, you have a thin strip of water called the Euphrates River. And to the right of that, you have a V-shaped piece of land. Now, Arabia is at the bottom of the V-shaped piece of land. Babylon and Iraq is in the middle, and Canaan. Now, Judea and Jerusalem is at the top of the V-shaped piece of land. This is very important that you remember the name Judea. The land is the African land, and I'll get into that in a moment and prove it. And so when it speaks of the book of Psalms 105:23, 105th chapter, 23rd verse, speaks of the wrongfully credits the 12 sons of Jacob as leaving Babylon and entering into ancient Egypt and starting ancient Judaism. As we focus upon the Jerusalem Temple Mount, octagonal building structure that has the golden dome, we see that the entrance gate, okay, there's a set of U's, at the top of the steps into the holy building in Jerusalem called the Dome of the Rock. As you get up to the top of the steps, the first image you see is dual stone white X's, just like your window in your living room. If you take a paintbrush and paint a big white X in the upper window and another white X in the lower window, that seems to be the image of the Dome of the Rock features, in which points to an Ethiopian stone cross-shaped building structure that's located in Lalibela, which 100% proves that the Dome of the Rock structure mirroring this dual stone axis to all of the entrance gate goers. So therefore, we see that the African continent children of Ham, everybody on the African continent is referred to in the Kingsjames Bible as Ham. Everybody in Europe is Shem. Everybody in Asia and Japan is Japheth. So it's only theologically correct to say that King David, African King David and Solomon, holy building structure has been misrepresented within the King James Bible, European Gentile nations. For instance, in 1611, 400 years ago, we had King James of England appointed 72 Greek and Hebrew scholars to travel to Judea and Jerusalem and study the Giza Sphinx line of Judea or Judah temple ruins. Now remember, we're talking about an African man's face on the lion's body in front of the Isaiah 1919 Giza pyramid as being denied in a theological-based racism within the 400-year-old mistranslated European King James Bible text. But as we look at the Dome of the Rock, Ethiopian stone cross-shaped building in the form of dual stone white X's, we go to the first book of the King James Bible, Genesis, and we see that the first cities within the King James Bible is Babylon, Samaria, of Nimrod, the Babylonian African continent children of Ham, mighty hunter before the Lord. So if we say, what's the oldest 6-point star in the King James Bible? It won't be the false European state of Israel 6-point star. It'll be Zechariah Sitchin's 12th planet emblem all on the internet or YouTube, where we see a stone Babylonian 6-point star that has a central sun. And this central sun, it has 12 planets around the tip of the 6-point star, representing planets within our solar system. So the focus of ancient Judaism, or African continent children of Ham, Babylonian stone 6-point star, was 1 John 1:1 biblical light that exists in the black outer regions of space before creating the 5 billion year world. But if we go to the stone step pyramids of Babylon, we see it mirrored within the Giza Pyramid, Grand Gallery, and Queen's Chamber wall niche, where the same 5 blocks stacked up on the left and right side that you form a step that you walk upon is the entrance of the Grand Gallery, because there's 5 wall blocks to the left and right side of the Grand Gallery. But these Giza Pyramid is telling us where the aliens in the will and the will like UFOs exist on a globe-shaped Earth. If we compare the meridian lines of the Grand Gallery to the Queen's Chamber wall niche and draw the same lines on the globe 2121 Earth, we'll see that the Giza Pyramid was not without words, because they are telling us architecturally that the grand gallery entrance to all humans is pointing to the Queen's-Chamber wall niche, the first room in the Giza pyramid. And up on the Queen's-Chamber wall niche, we see an elongated-headed, big black oval-shaped eye wheeling away like your forehead. It has no penis or vagina between its legs. There's smooth skin there where a woman's vagina would be. So this alien creator of man face created the first elongated-headed African. Today, Genesis 1:26, first elongated-headed African Adamic race no longer exists upon the surface of planet Earth. But you go back 6,000 years ago, we've seen King Tut, Pharaoh Kennington, Queen Nefertiti. They all had long walnut-shaped head. Which mirrors the elongated-headed wielding more like your alien. Now, Genesis 2:7 deals with the Giza Sphinx of Genesis 49:8 and the lion of the tribe of Judah, or the Judean desert inhabitants. Remember, if you look at the normal shape-headed Africans being tutored by the elongated-headed wielding more like your aliens and the elongated-headed African continent children of Ham, then we will see a correlation between JABAL, ALLAWZ. Galatians 5, the book of Galatians tells us that Mount Sinai, where the wielding more like your aliens landed, is in the eastern coastline of Africa. Okay. Well, wait. Don't jump before the horse. Let me show you the African continent on this video where I put a big A there. And to the east of the African continent is a thin strip of water we call the Euphrates River. So the V-shaped piece of land, I put a big B there. So if we go back before the flood of Noah, the time period, we squeeze Africa A back to B. Now we have one huge African continent. That means there's no European-faced Israelites in Psalms 105:23 Babylonian area. So we can erase that. There's no white people called Israelites leaving East Africa B area, because now we went back before the flood of Noah, before the continent separated, and entered into Egypt and started ancient Judaism. So now we see Babylon, the African children of Ham, Babylonian kingdom, stone 6-point star, and stealth pyramid images that appear upon the Dome of the Rock outer wall in which supports the Golden Dome. Look at it. I show it as the Dome of the Rock outer wall stealth pyramid E images. It's two stealth pyramids connected at their bases. Now, when we go back to see that Arabia, today we have European-faced Arabians on white robes. Or you go to Israel, we see European-faced Israelites. These are all false children inhabiting Israel and Arabia. You say, why? Because if we squeeze African continent A back to B, we have all African continent children of Ham in Arabia speaking the Aramaic language. Now we have the same thing in Judea. Now notice that Ezra 1:3 says, let us go up to Jerusalem, which is located in the land of Judah. Now remember, these are African continent kingdoms. Babylon, Egypt, Judean desert. So that's why if you draw a line from A, Africa, where the Giza Sphinx is, across the Euphrates River, into B, you're entering the Judean desert. And in that desert area, we see the biblical caves of Jethro ruined. So why would the Kingsjames Bible European Gentile nations falsely claim that these ruins are line from A, Africa, going to B, is the is the caves of Jethro? Well, actually, it's the Giza Sphinx ruins, because if you look at the caves of Jethro, building ruins is thick buildings with stone step pyramids. That's Babylonian signature right there. African continent, children of Ham, in the book of Genesis started the kingdom of Babylon. And now we see, if we squeeze Africa continent A back to B, we have stone step pyramids in the Judean desert with Giza Sphinx face ruins. Now we see that the Galatians 4:25, Arabia, Jabal, ALLAWZ. Wait a minute. Let's separate Africa continent A from B. Now we have this thin strip of water to the East African continent called the Euphrates River. So that separates Africa A from B. But if we go back before the flood of Noah, before the continent separated and water swept over the surface of planet Earth, now we have Africa continent A, Giza Sphinx of Judae&Jerusalem, ruling all of Arabia, all of Jerusalem, all of Judea, and all the green grass and jungle. Now look up in the sky. You have blue. That's three colors, y'all. red, green, and blue. So, how many colors in white light? 7. How many colors in the rainbow? 7. How many rainbows are on the throne of God in the book of Revelation? 7. So the throne of God is not Jesus or Jehovah, false European man-based Lord God world religion characters that both have penises underneath their white robe. Okay, this is what I call the false man-based Lord God world religions that corrupted the world. Judaic temple ruins and Jerusalem and the Giza pyramid. Data about the biblical light that created the world, that created aliens first on the with the big black oval-shaped eyes and the wheeling were like UFOs. They're the first alien species on the surface of planet Earth. They turned around and created Genesis 1:26, first elongated African Adamic race that no longer exists on the surface of planet Earth. Like you go back in time 4,000 years ago, 8,000 years ago, you see King Tut, Queen Nefertiti, all the African pharaohs. Well, the aliens with long wildland shape here that existed on the surface of planet Earth, you can't call them God like Christianity did. Okay, giving God the false title He. He means a man that has a penis underneath his white robe like Jesus and Jehovah. Erase that out your mindset. But the aliens that do not have a penis between their legs, in fact, they have smooth skin, they have what one's vagina would be. These are the aliens that created the first elongated African he, Adam, African she, Eve. So today, when we talk about theological correctness, JABAL, ALLAWZ is where Galatians 4th chapter tells us, 25th verse, is a true Mount Sinai. That's in Arabia. That's in the B-shaped area. Look at the African continent A. I put an A there and B. So what is in there? Look at it. It's the Giza Sphinx. The aerial view Google map of the B area of Jabal ALLAWZ shows a huge land surface mountain generated Giza Sphinx, black Giza Sphinx face in the royal Egyptian headdress. So wait a minute. That snatches all the false European state of Israel crap out of the Bible. And it places Judea. Okay. Now, Ezra 1:3 tells us, let us go up to Jerusalem, which is located in the land of Judea, and build the house of the Lord God. They're talking about the will of the world like UFO aliens that created the first elongated, headed African Adam.